Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here in Rotterdam aboard the brand new MS Connect. This is the first ship from Transcend, a new brand that caters to the group and in MICE market on the rivers of Europe. I'm here with the Chief Visionary Officer, the guy that was there at the very beginning, and I've met him many times over the years in many meetings. It's Matthew Scholler, who is indeed the Chief Visionary Officer, and we're going to get a bit of a history of why we're here today and what's happened over the past 8 to 10 years, I think. And Matthew was there at the very beginning, the very, very first meeting, and you're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Matthew, first of all, we're here, and actually, you wonder why we're here. We're actually in one of the main spaces that's very unique about this ship. It's the Forum, I believe, and we're standing here. There's this huge. You can have a film festival here. There's a huge LED screen, but we don't want to talk about that right now because we're going to talk about the features of the ship. But you were there at the very beginning, so give us a little bit about the history of this. First of all, this amazing company and this amazing ship.
Transcend, as I said yesterday in my little introduction speech, was born from an opportunity that turned into frustration. I've been in and around the sector for many years, doing private charters for groups, and then we're across the board from nonprofits to corporate.
And this was both river and other ships, right?
River and other ships, and I had an opportunity back in 2018 where someone I was working on with another project, an unrelated project in the industry, called me and said, you're in the cruise business, and we have all these lawyers that want to go on a golf outing, and somebody saw a Viking commercial on PBS. Can you help us get a ship? And I said, of course, I can help you. That's what I do. And as usual, I could not get them a ship because inevitably, in the B2C market, ships are on a rigid schedule, operating as kind of standard product. It's excellent. They serve the clients well. But the flexibility that this particular group needed at that time, which is very often the case, simply didn't exist. The very next day, after my month or so of trying to get a ship for these people, I called up my mentor and my partner, Hans Rode, who's our chief.
I've known for a long time. He's been in cruising, yeah.
Yeah, for a very long time. And I said, Hans, it's really time for us to start a new venture, and that focus is entirely on the charter market. So that was the beginning of Transcend. A couple of months later, I reached out to several other people who were in our list of founders. We have 5 founders. Someone named Akiva Feinsod, who was a real financial wizard, somebody I'd worked on with other projects. Adam Glickman, who I just met. I was just coming off a hotel development project. Adam was the person at IHG Hotels who had put together a new wellness brand and had left. Mark Campbell, who I met when I was at Intrav briefly. And Mark was the president of TCS, Private Jet Vacations, and also was at Virtuoso and other groups, so really, stalwart in the travel industry. And Hans and myself, and we met at an Airbnb in Boston in May of 2018, and sat it for 2 days, and we're joined on the second day by Robert Strabhar from River Advice, who's our operating partner and really, I think in many ways, the guiding light of our company. And the 5 of us came together. So my idea, but a group of people came together and said, how do we turn this idea of a charter-only B2B cruise line into a business?
Right.
And what came out of that meeting were several things. Number one was that there's a huge market opportunity. It actually, in fact, the MICE market itself dwarfs the river cruise market in size by many times.
Absolutely, and we're actually here during the GBTA, so which is a huge business conference, and this would be perfect for many of those people. Right?
Exactly right, and at the same time, our colleagues at the other cruise lines had done an excellent job of turning what, of course, in early days, let's say around late '90s to early 2000s, replaced the bus tour for American clients and non-European clients, and has of course grown and prospered over the years and was doing well until COVID, and then has bounced back since COVID, and of course all the new ship announcements. But we kind of saw this coming. We knew that this was going to grow back. So we are a pre-COVID company. COVID, on one hand, slowed us down. On the other hand,
you were telling this in the christening speech you gave. Yes. You were telling us all about this. How COVID actually helped a little bit.
COVID helped us. I hate to say that about a global pandemic, but it really.
You know what they say? It takes a global pandemic. Right?
I hope not. I don't hope it ever happens again. But prior to COVID, the industry was red hot. I mean, there were, especially in the ocean side and expedition and other sectors. Shipyards were full. You had to wait 3 or 4 years to even get a slot discussion, let alone, and the design firms were full. All of a sudden, in March of 2020, things went pretty quiet,
right.
and we had progressed through 2019 as the name of the company. Which,
well, actually, let's
Yeah,
talk.
you
What
wanna-
is that? Let's go
Yeah,
quickly
okay.
into the name of the company. And
So-
why is it called Transcend? And really not Transcend River Cruises or Transcend Cruises, right?
Yeah, as many people do, I was doing my best shower, thinking of the shower, and one morning in October of 2018, we had the group of 5 had been, especially Adam and I, who were kind of focused on some of the marketing elements of the company, have been discussing about half a dozen potential names. We had settled on one. An airline started up that had a very similar name at that same time, so we said, okay, that's out. And one morning, I'm standing, washing my hair, and my brain is churning, and this name popped really into my head. And in my neighborhood, we call it a sign from God, but let's let's leave that alone for a moment.
God works mysterious ways in the shower, right?
But again, the name itself really, and the naming convention for our ships also, which kind of followed from that, was this idea of taking something which already exists, even at a high level, but stepping above. Transcend means to move ahead or step above. And that was really something which I thought spoke very much to something we didn't want to do, which is replicate what other lines did, which again, they've got a lovely name that it evokes flowers or rivers or jewels or something, and that was not the direction we wanted to go. We are not a B2C company. And again, I'll talk a minute about the customization and all this, and that was flowing through the business process that we wanted to explain to our clients. And the other was this idea of taking something that really, while being in the industry, was not from the industry, if you will. And that was a very important part of our story. Mm-hmm. So the name came in late 2018. This naming convention, and I'll credit I remember sitting in these meetings with myself and a former colleague, Ralph DeCline, and we were, thinking again, how do you not pick those kind of standard names? And this idea of names that came from the actions that we wanted our clients to take with the ship.
Right.
And the idea, so again, engagement, connection, right? But how do you describe the process they're going through rather than the guest experience? Right. And that's really where we are. So we like to say, and especially in those early days, Transcend partners with our clients to deliver an experience for their guests.
Right.
Because we have one client on board, the charterer, right? And they have, from
So
60
you
to
can
100.
customize anything for any group, basically, that you were talking about, within the parameters of this ship, which is a newly designed ship. It's very different from anything on the rivers that I know.
And one of the props I held up at the naming ceremony yesterday was a set of deck plans that we actually drew back in 2018. We took an existing set, I believe, from an Avalon ship, and we kind of sketched it up, and then we had a designer do it. And if you look back and you look at those deck plans, the functions and the locations of things on the ship are about 91% of where we wound up. So the idea of, for example, we're standing in this theater, and the idea of having a theater, an open, place where a group can have a TED talk or a cooking class or a presentation, doesn't exist. But because we have fewer guests on board, we were able to reallocate some space for these purposes. We have a lot of wellness space on board. And
you do. You have an amazing spa. I don't know very many spas, if any spas, that are any bigger. And you got some other amazing massage and different wellness things that you have that nobody else has, right?
Yeah. So and I'll credit my colleague Kimberly Daly created a relationship, and Hans created a relationship with Rituals. And I'll leave them to talk about some of those, strategic partnerships that have become more, happened more recently. But the idea was always that we were going to have space on board that allowed the client to do things, number one, that appeal to a much wider audience than the typical river cruise guest, which of course is older and maybe less mobile. Right. And at the same time, facilitated the kind of meetings and breakouts and other things that a corporate client might need, because that's a lot of what our potential business was at that time. So moving through creating a space like this forum, or a lounge that also doubles as 3 breakout rooms, right? Yeah. Or private dining rooms that could also have meeting AV, and that also, like a hotel, we don't charge for everything. It's all included when it's on board.
That's what I said. It's all included, and you're going to about 120 guests, so you can carry groups of about 120 plus support staff, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So we have 60 identical cabins on board. the structure of our accommodations product is like everything else on board, is highly flexible. So when a client says, and the first thing that we made available was like accommodations. Corporate groups especially struggle with this, even at hotels on land, because they bring a bunch of people, let's say, that want an incentive trip. Nobody wants to be in an inferior room. So we set out initially and we said, okay, every room is going to be precisely the same. They're 20% larger than the average cabin on a river ship, and at the same time, they're all alike. The second innovation that we created, and this is something which we, with a hat tip to our friends at Ponant, because they had kind of innovated this idea of two cabins joining into a suite, but we made that 100% of our inventory.
So every single one of your 60 cabins can be converted into a larger suite, which is essentially two suites together, right?
Two cabins converted to a suite. So what we did was we put the client, the charterer, in control of their own product. And so a client can come in and say, you know what, we've got a CEO level meeting, or we've got a board event, or a fundraiser, or it's a small upscale, high net worth family. They only want to have suites, and we have all this space, larger suite. Those are now 420 square foot, 2-bath, full 2-room suites, not just a larger room. Or a mix of cabins and suites, and for a tour operator, for example, that's a great thing. Most river ships have maybe 2 suites, and very often they're not real suites, they're maybe just a larger room. But I have a client, we're doing a cruise in October where they have a deck of suites and a deck of cabins, so 90 guests on board. And that's a very typical...
In fact, I think one of your clients coming up is Lindblad, is going to be on board, which is a tour operator and an expedition cruise line, right?
Exactly right. We're doing all of their river cruise product in Europe. And like many others, they've elected to have more suite products because they can. It's really up to their decision about where they want to sell. And all of this flows into the public spaces. So we have a restaurant that can seat from 80 to 120. And unlike most river ships, we created some space to put that furniture away and do some other things that allow us to do that. We have a main lounge. We took the lower deck area where most ships have their entry level, 14 to 16 entry level cabins below the waterline, and we said, nope, we're going to create another space for clients to do this. So we have a 1,260 square foot rec room, if you will, a studio.
I used to call it all-purpose room.
All-purpose room. It's a little, that's a little stale, but let's say, so again, think about, a yoga studio, a kids activity center, a golf club, pro shop, whatever the need of that particular sailing is, that client can use that room for their purposes. And in that space, there are 3 additional cabins for their team, so they don't have to go into that retail cabin structure to put their operational team in place. For up to 6 people, plus an office, because I know from running many charters over the years, there's nowhere to set your shop up.
Yeah,
and so we give them an office for 2 people with printing and all the other stuff, plus a digitally branded reception desk right in the lobby. And I think one of the other elements that was really, again, we saw early on is that our clients are looking to have their own brand front and center, not our brand. Many people, many corporate groups especially, when they go, let's say, to an upscale hotel, part of the bragging rights is, we're out of 4 Seasons or we're out of Ritz-Carlton. But for us, we know that for global brands, their brand is really the one they want to be talking about, not someone else's. So we have digitally wrapped the ship, if you will, in screens, and which go in a lot of different directions, and some of them are more, let's say, guest focused, and some are more brand focused. But like we have a corridor which is full of screens, and it can become a digital art gallery or brand history gallery. And the client controls all of that content. We have an onboard IT director. And again, these were things that we really put in place at the very beginning of this process, because we knew that these were game changers for our clientele and would create an opportunity. I think many of the people we're talking to now and have been talking to for the last few years about this have never considered river cruising as an option for them. Perhaps they've heard about it on a personal level. They may know somebody, a family member that went or something, but the perception is this just would not work for our event. And we are here in a situation now where we have been able to, in effect, create a new category for them to, again, fulfill their mission. And again, back to the early days of our naming convention and everything else, this is all about creating that opportunity, which in the early days led to frustration, and now we hope will lead to fulfillment for our clientele.
Yeah. So actually, and this is a 5-star product, right? You are really catering. You've got. I think you described this as a 5-star product, right?
Well, I didn't actually describe it as a 5-star. We as a group do. I actually personally prefer to describe the unique attributes of what we do. So we bring a level of flexibility and connectivity that I would say almost doesn't even exist on land at hotels, at group hotels. So if luxury, if you will, is choice, and luxury is the ability to plug in what you need as a client into an environment that you're in, that's the luxury that we provide. Yes, we're a sybaritic environment. Yes, the food is excellent. The staff is incredible. The facilities on board.
That is the service. You had to create a service mentality here.
Absolutely, and the finishes that we chose throughout the ship and the design elements that we worked on with several years with our partner at Tilburg, and again back to COVID, why did we pick a group like this who otherwise would have been unavailable? Because all of a sudden everybody had some bandwidth. So COVID again opened up slots at the shipyards, opened up design help, etc. And that kind of, while it took a long time for this to come to fruition, at the same time it kind of turbocharged us with the right partners in place to be able to deliver this really unique experience. So back to your question about luxury, luxury is about delivering what the guest expectation is, and we deliver that in a way that no one else does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
so here we are, 8 years later.
Yes.
The ship is finally here.
The ship is here.
Is it what you envisioned back then? I mean, obviously things changed and everything else, but does this fulfill your vision for this kind of product, which is revolutionary? Really, there isn't anything else like it on the rivers, even anywhere for a group scenario, for a group travel. So is this the right thing, right? For in your view?
Number one, as I said, it almost precisely matches what we originally thought it would be back then. So there is very much a correlation, a kind of a step-by-step process we went through, but we kind of knew what we wanted to do on the front end, and it kind of came out that way on the back end. The ship is excellent. Yeah. We have a fantastic shipyard in Denbrain Shipyard. We have worked with them since the very beginning. Great subcontractors and other folks that have helped us through the way and constructed this environment. But as a built environment, this very much matches what we thought back then, validated throughout the years with our client to potential and actual clients, and have now launched as a physical product in the physical world.
How does it feel now that it's here?
You kind of saw me break up a little bit at the end of my speech yesterday. I feel, as my idea, it's my baby, to some level. But hundreds of people, our team and the broader team of our investors, and have all come together to create and turbocharge this. Personally, for me, this is very fulfilling. We've really created something which matches the vision and creates the opportunity that when I first had this idea 8 years ago, I knew had to come into the market, and we're here now in a live environment.
And I was joking with you. I said, Matthew used to have a dark beard, and now look what's happened after 8 years. You're now become. It's amazing, but you're still here.
It's been a run. Thankfully, I still have my dark hair at least. But it's been a long. You never know when you start something like this. I've been through a few entrepreneurial exercises. You never know who your partners are going to be. You never know where you're going to wind up at the end of the process. But with God's help, we've come a long way, and we are. And
there's more to come, right? And in fact, we passed the shell of the next one, which is coming out next year. Right?
It was an amazing timing. Again, everything is in someone else's hands. But as we came back to the shipyard after our sale, our what's called the Casco here in Holland, the new hull was delivered for our second ship, and that will come on the market in the spring of next year. So it's an exciting, and we'll build more, and the market is very large, and I would also say that our colleagues at the other, we don't think they're competitors, we actually collaborate on some level. We are going to bring an entirely new base of clients to the retail cruise lines, because our clients tend to be working age people, right? We're bringing a different type of group. Obviously, many other people are dealing with more retirees and things like that, but people are going to experience river cruising for the first time, very often through us. They're not likely to be a charter client potentially, but they're certainly going to come back, and they're going to probably come back with one of the B2C lines. So we see all kinds of opportunities for collaboration. We hope we're going to lift all boats. We hope the rivers will be full, and it's just the right levels. And our industry is strong, but we really see ourselves as hopefully a powerful force to expand our industry in cooperation with our colleagues at the other cruise lines. We're standing here docked next to several of the ships. It's very typical in Rotterdam today. And while I think we're the paparazzi ship. We're the one that everyone's excited to see because we're brand new and we have this beautiful level of furniture, and I think done at a much higher level than anyone else. At the same time, we're born from this industry. We come from a place where we understand what these things have to do, and really, I think, again, we're the next stage, and probably several stages beyond that. I think we've really taken it a whole long.
I got to tell you, it's such a unique ship. It's such an amazing difference, and you walk on. You'll see some things that's similar. We're standing in what they call the forum, which is this amphitheater, which leads into the dining room, and upstairs it leads into the lounge. So it's this kind of atrium space that you've recreated. But then you go into the wellness spaces. You go into the suites. Those are very different. But I got to tell you, just from a first impression, it really is a unique product for a unique kind of client base, and I want to congratulate you. First of all, I know you're relieved. You're finally here, and it's an emotional time for you, but it really, you did what you set out to do 8 years ago, and congratulations.
Thank you, James. And as always, and as I did yesterday, I want to credit one person especially, which is my wife, Leah. All of us have somebody who kind of carries them through, and she's my center, and so we all need the support of all of those around us, spouses and business partners and teams, and this is not a singularity. There's no singularity here. This is very much a team effort, and it's really important as we move forward. So.
Fantastic. Well, again, Matthew, congratulations, and we got one more day on this ship, and I know you've got more ships to come. It must be so fulfilling to see an idea into become reality, and now we're here. So, and in fact, we're about ready to have breakfast here. So, but again,
yeah, no, thank you, and I'm happy you're here. We've been working with you guys since the very beginning, and we announced the very first Sea Trade a few years ago. So we appreciate all the partnership that we've done with you, and hope to welcome you on board the next one. So
we'll see. I got to get a group together. I'm James Shillinglaw aboard the MS Connect, the brand new Transcend ship, and this is Insider Travel Report.